Our selection will be By the River of Babylon.
By the river of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. By the river of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. By the river of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. By the river of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. When the wicked carried us away, captivity required of us a song. How shall we sing our holy song in a strange land? When the wicked carried us away, captivity required of us a song. How shall we sing our holy song in a
oracles of the UCI, beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As we heard in our opening song, they wept because they remembered Zion. Our issue today is we do not remember Zion. We have gotten so accustomed to the ways of Babylon that we have made those things regular. We are influenced by a lot of things. And when we're shown a lot of things over and over, we get desensitized to those things, and we don't really understand just how problematic those things really are. You know, this whole Jesse Smollett issue, where, you know, everybody has gotten riled up one way or another. It's caused people to pick sides left and right. And then as things go on, you get to the thing that now, you know, it was a big hoax. So it appears. They are saying that it was, you know, because he was unhappy with his pay and he was making something like $1 million a year. You know, and the interesting thing about what we do is we allow people to rule over us in strange ways. Like, we go out and support people you know, and we're jumping behind situations, and most of us hadn't seen what $1 million looked like, and we up standing fighting for a cause for somebody who said $1 million wasn't enough, and then we jump on the bandwagon. This is how the rich take advantage of the poor, using everybody's, you know, feelings, and now they're running behind those situations, and these people would die to make $100,000 in one pop, you know. But you have some interesting things, and then we hear and see lying so much that we don't think that it is an issue. We don't think that it is a problem. That's because in the daughter of Babylon, it's just business. See? And once we get in our head that it's just business, then all of a sudden it becomes okay for us to do certain things. And it's not okay. That's Babylonian business. It is wicked. But we get accustomed. People tell us that this is business. We get, you know, desensitized to it. And this is the way we operate to make money. And the sad part about it is, a lot of times if you're dealing in business, when you come at people straight up, they don't pay you. And that's the sad part about Babylon, that you have to come at some situations in a certain way just for them to pay you. But you got to have a line. And you got to figure out where that line is going to be. There are several people that have gone through situations where they've tried to get a raise and the people told them the money wasn't there. You know, my mother was one of them. She worked for a corporation for over 20 years. On her way out the door, they offer her everything. They offer her about 12 years worth of raises. Look, we'll pay you this. Wait a minute. That means you could have paid me 12 years ago. Well, hold on. Don't leave. We'll offer you a car. No. See, now they offering more than the new place, but you have ruled over me with rigor while smiling in my face, because that's part of Babylonian business. Show at least two faces, okay? That's part of Babylonian business. Have all the money while not paying these people, and then up to the point where those people didn't get ready to leave, then now all of this gets offered to them. We're going to have to separate from the things that we have learned in the belly of Babylon. And we can't wait until we get out of Babylon to do it. This is where we're going to end up losing our salvation if we don't make the necessary changes, because Yahweh knows what he has exposed us to. He knows what information we have. He knows what things were presented before us. So if we make a decision and say we're just not going to change, you know, because, you know, one thing he says about his people Israel, he said, we stiff-necked and rebellious now. Now, this is what he said about his people. He's not talking about some other people. See, he said his people are stiff-necked and rebellious. You can show us the truth. You can tell us the truth. And we'll still say, man, get out of my face. I ain't trying to deal with that. But you know what's funny? And it is interesting how we operate. We show absolutely no mercy until it's us on the dying bed. And then everybody want mercy. All the people who have showed absolutely no mercy on their deathbed, all they ask for is the mercy that they wouldn't give somebody else. Please have mercy on me. Well, how much mercy did you have on those people? Well, that was different. Yeah. How was it different? Because it wasn't you. And at some point, this is what Babylon does. It multiplies the importance of self. This has been the problem from the beginning in the garden, when the whole thing of self is multiplied, then that's all you can think about, and you think that that's normal. It is normal in Babylon. It is not normal anywhere else. And it will not be normal in Yahweh's kingdom. And if that is what your normal is, Yahweh says point blank, I will cut off all things that offend. So you can do whatever you think you got to do, but I guarantee you, Yahweh going to stop you at the gate. Let's begin today's sermon in Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22, and we're going to start that at verse 1. And today's sermon is entitled, Walking in the Law in the Belly of Babylon. See, a lot of us can do right when it ain't nothing but right around us. See? But then the question arises as to when things start happening and when other people are around you doing other things, can you still walk right then? See, this is how a lot of our people get in trouble in politics, because everybody in politics is stealing. When they say a lobbyist is an organized briber. That's what lobbying is. That's their job. Their job is to pay money to get laws passed. Yet you look up and somebody gets locked up for bribery. Wait a minute. How are they getting locked up for bribery? You have organized lobbyists that this is their job, to pay money to candidates to get laws passed that they want. And that's illegal in Babylon. But yet, certain people end up going to jail for taking money in a certain way, and then they say, okay, that's bribery. The whole system is bribery. So Babylon has a serious issue in how it deals with things, and we're going to have to first acknowledge it before we can deal with it inside of ourselves. Deuteronomy chapter 22, and let's start that at verse 1.
You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide yourself from them. You shall in any case bring them again onto your brother.
Right. And I hope I don't have to be simple and say that this is brotherhood. I hope I don't have to say, saying this include women too, saying? Because, you got them simpletons. No, they said the brothers have to do that, not the sister. So, I can see my sister's stuff, and I ain't got to pick that stuff up. I ain't got to do nothing with it. I just leave her ox just roaming. No. See, this is right common care for brother and sister. You see your brother's stuff, you see your sister's stuff, I know it's their stuff. Do I just leave that stuff for anybody to go and deal with when I know it's theirs? I'm supposed to take that to me and hold it for my brother or my sister. Then contact them. Hey, I got your stuff. I saw your stuff just sitting out here in the open. I don't know how it happened, but I just saw your stuff. So I took it to me, and as soon as I can get to you, here go your stuff. That's common consideration that we're supposed to have for one another. Babylon has stripped all of it out of us. We so cold-hearted. Go ahead.
And if your brother be not near unto you, or if you know him not, then you shall bring it unto your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks after it, and you shall restore it to him again.
You shall restore it. Now this is where we get in trouble. We gonna get our brother's stuff, but we done got used to it. Oh my goodness. Is that silk? Oh my goodness, that feels so good. I like where that feels against my skin. Then your brother come over. Ain't that my shirt? Well, you know something about this one, ain't? But I done got accustomed to it. Yeah, but that's not your stuff. First of all, why was you even putting your brother's stuff on? You were just supposed to be holding it. That don't mean you use it while you're holding it. You hold your brother's stuff, not use your brother's stuff. Go ahead.
In like manner shall you do with his ass, and so shall you do with his raiment, and with all lost things of your brothers, which he has lost, and you have found, shall you do likewise. You may not hide yourself. You shall not see your brother's ass or his ox fall down by the way, and hide yourself from them. You shall surely help him to lift them up again. The woman shall not wear that which pertains unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment.
Right. So there's certain things where people have major issues. If you are 501c3 and you say anything about same-sex marriage or say anything against certain things, you could be in some deep trouble. You know, because you have taken that 501c3 and you've spoken against a government-backed thing. But right off the rip, he says, a man shall not wear a woman's garment, and a woman shall not wear a man's garment. But how we get desensitized in school, they'll come up and they'll say, we got backwards day in the school. So in the 10th grade, you got a 10th grade muscle-bound football player walking down the hall in a dress. And everybody think it's funny. And the more you see the stuff, the more desensitized you get to it. Go ahead.
For all that do so are abomination unto Yahweh your Elohim.
He says that all that do so is an abomination. So whatever your preference was, at the point that you put on the garment of the opposite sex, you are already an abomination. You ain't have to do nothing, you ain't did nothing yet. You was abomination when you put it on. Thank you, bro. Go ahead.
If a bird's nest chance to be before you in the way, in any tree, or on the ground, whether they be young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, you shall not take the dam with the young.
So you cannot take the mother and the offspring at the same time. There's some kind of common courtesy that's supposed to be within us as people. Babylon tries to strip that away. Go ahead.
But you shall in any wise let the dam go, and take the young to you, that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days. When you build a new house, then you shall make a battlement for your roof, that you bring not blood upon your house, if any man fall from thence. So
then there's supposed to be something around your roof to keep people from falling off of it. The roof was a usable place in our culture. Here, the roof is made in the shape of a pyramid. Can't nobody go on it. Anybody go on your roof now gonna fall off. The roofs were made flat. Only a small decline so that water would run off. But that was a usable area. So then it's just not talking about a roof like, why would anybody fall off your roof? They should know what they're doing. No. Regular people will walk on somebody else's roof. It is a usable area of the house. It's like what we would call a deck. So it is your responsibility to see about your own stuff before you go inviting people and having shindigs, and you know you got a weak deck, and then you got 50 people standing on it. And there are several times that people done had parties, and the steps be on top of their head at the end of the night. You supposed to walk on the steps not supposed to walk on you. They didn't secure that before they had the shindig. Go ahead.
Verse 9. You shall not sow your vineyard with diverse seeds, lest the fruit of your seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. You shall not plow with an ox and an ass together. You shall not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together.
And you know that all they do in Babylon is make garments that are blended. It's all for money's sake. That, hey, we can do this, and we can make a cheaper fabric, and we can do this, and we can do that. There are certain things that we're going to have to make sure we do not allow in a righteous kingdom. Go ahead.
You shall make you fringes upon the four quarters of your vesture, wherewith you covereth yourself. If any man take a wife, and go in unto her, and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate.
All right, when he says, I took this woman unto me, and I found her not a maid, he says, I found her not a virgin. It means she was presented as a virgin, and then when he married her, he found that she was not a virgin. So now, he's saying, hey, this was false advertisement. So you advertised the stallion, and I got this ass coat. You know what I'm saying? I got that's not what I was told when we was negotiating. See? Go ahead.
And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hates her. And, lo, he has given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not your daughter a maid.
And that was a pretty hefty statement. He says he's brought up occasions of speech against her. This is very dangerous speech to be saying, especially during those times. Go ahead.
Yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him.
That's because the father had the tokens of the virginity to prove that. Go ahead.
And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he has brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die.
Now, but if this thing be true, and the tokens of the virginity be not found for the damsel, so you could just have a lazy daddy. And he can't find his stuff. And see, some of us keep our houses in all kind of disarray. We don't know what and that. Imagine if somebody got a DACA, you can't find the stuff, and then after they stone her, you be like, oh no, hey, too late, huh? Now your daughter dead because you can't find your stuff. Go ahead, bro.
Because she has wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So shall you put evil away from among you.
Right. It says, then they shall bring the damsel out to the door of her father's house. This is very personal as to even where this is taking place. And I want you to remember that, because we're going to go and read something in the New Testament concerning this same thing. Go ahead.
If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shall you put away evil from Israel.
So shall you put away evil from Israel. See, when you allow things to continue, it encourages more evil. See, when people start dying for things, it's going to end real quick. So you keep giving people probation for things, you keep giving them, you know what I'm saying, all right, we'll give them 6 months in jail this time. No. When people start dying, everybody else going to say, you know what, I ain't doing that right now. That's all they need to see is everybody. Why do you think they had public hangings when they did things to the slaves? That was to encourage the slaves, hey, whatever they did, we're not doing that. I don't know what they did, but I know I'm not going to do it. I'm finna find out why they was hung, why they got beat. That was to keep them in a certain frame of mind. These things that Yahweh is having done, these things are publicly done. These are not things that are done privately. No. Do it publicly so everybody will know. Go ahead.
Verse 23. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her,
then she is betrothed, then she is engaged. Go ahead.
Then you shall bring them both out onto the gate of that city, and you shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. so shall you put away evil from among you.
Once again, both of them shall die, not one. It says, being in the city, if she was forced, somebody should have heard her. See, it's very interesting that you have a lot of people. This is starting to come up in regular circles from people who are not Bible readers. Okay, it's coming up from a lot of people who are against the Bible, and what they're saying is, okay, if a woman that is a virgin gets raped, she's supposed to marry this guy and be with him for the rest of her life. No, what they're doing is trying to use this word out of context and then say, well, there's no reason why a woman would want to be with a rapist. And they're doing that and not fully dealing with the context. This was talking about within the city. We're talking about a woman. We're not talking about a child. See, there's certain things that people end up taking for granted. See, when you're talking about grown people doing things to children, those children don't have the same wherewithal, the understanding that a grown individual has. And you know, we've been watching this thing happen with R. Kelly. We all know R. Kelly had some issues, and he been had some issues for quite some time. Okay? But when we like somebody, we really don't, want nothing to happen to them right away. But this thing is getting just uglier and uglier dealing with those situations. But you start to go back, a lot of those times, those people have had situations, they've had things happen to them. This is why you have to be careful what you expose your children to. Because a lot of times the people who end up being abused sometimes turn into abusers. Sometimes they're the most helpful people ever because of what happened to them. Sometimes they're the worst people ever because of what happened to them. And if you just openly put them in those situations, then you're going to have to deal with your part and your fault in that for presenting them in those situations. I mean, we have known, and it has not been a secret about the problems of the Catholic Church. Yet people take their kids there every week. They let them go out on trips constantly. They send them out with these men constantly. You already know the issue. If you are surprised by something, that's one thing. These people have been doing this for hundreds of years. And people are still turning their children over to them. Here, I'm going to drop off little Johnny and I'll be back next Tuesday. Are you out of your mind? Go ahead, bro.
But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. But unto the damsel you shall do nothing.
Right. Now, you see how they took that out of context. So now a woman got to marry a man that raped her. No, he got to die. I don't know where they were reading that. I don't know what they're talking about. Oh, that she got to marry him. She need to be with because he was her first. She need to marry him. No, she's not going to marry him because he going to die. She can't marry a dead man. See? So when you start hearing people take this word and take it out of context, they're going to tell you that your word, your Bible promotes a raped child. First of all, a raped child to be married to the rapist. No, him no live. That's going to take care of that business right there. Ain't going to be no more marrying right there. He should never marry anything again. Go ahead.
But unto the damsel you shall do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slays him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, And the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her.
Okay, so let's make it clear to women. It is your responsibility to scream at the top of your lungs if you believe you are being forced into a situation. I mean Mariah Carey scream. I mean there should be glasses that should be breaking. I mean it should be just, they should just see a row of broken glass. Wow, did somebody hit these? No, man, when she went to screaming, they all broke. So if something happened to you, but there wasn't no noise made, the Bible said there's a problem. See, you got to hit that high note. Oh, you got to go and practice that thing like they do, like y'all be doing in the choir. Y'all be trying to figure out the note. No, oh, ah. Yeah, you need to find your note. Find your note. I don't care what your range is. Find your note. This is the one time you get to go outside your range, okay? You get to legally go outside your range. You be like, look, you're not that. You are not that. You are not a soprano. But you know what? Hit that note, girl. Hit that note. You know? Hit that note. Go ahead.
If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her.
He has humbled her. He did not go through the normal process. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, verse 28, and lay hold on her, lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. Back in the days, they called this the shotgun wedding. See, the daddy found out that you humble his daughter when she get that little belly bump. When she get that little belly bump, you been with Keisha? I do, Mr. Johnson, I do. I know you do. I know you do. Because you done already did and you're about to get done. You understand what I'm talking about? That take care of that business right there. See? Some of y'all might need to go home and ask your parents. A couple of y'all with some shotgun wedding children. Right?
He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt.
All right, now let's go to Johannan, chapter 8.
Johannan chapter 8 and verse 1. Yahshua went on to the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came on to him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act.
Now, understand, he's in the temple. These are scribes and the Pharisees. These are the people that actually have the positions in the temple. So they're not really pleased with this outsider coming in here and, starting to teach. How does he even know, this stuff? Go ahead.
Now Moshe in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what saith you? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Yahshua stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not.
Right. There's some people, that's the best you need to get in. They just talking and trying to set you up. You just get you a little piece of stick in the sand and Sock, you let me talk to you? But everything you saying is mess. Ain't no need of me even responding to that mess. Go ahead.
So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him cast cast a stone at her?
Right. Now, the whole purpose of that is because they came in hypocrisy anyway. We just read the law that both of them shall be stoned, but they say they caught this woman in the very act, yet they have not presented a man. They only have the woman. So there's something seriously wrong with how they have brought this situation. Go ahead.
And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Yahshua was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst.
Those were a very few words that he offered these people. And it took him a while to even get him those words. Go ahead.
When Yahshua had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those your accusers? Has no man condemned you?
Mm-hmm.
She said, No man, Adonai. And Yahshua said unto her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more.
Right. Now, he didn't okay the situation. He said, go and sin no more. See, the people that brought this accusation didn't bring the accusation right anyway. That's probably the best thing for the woman. We see it happen in court all the time. If they bring a case against you the wrong way, if they don't even read you your rights, you have an opportunity to go home. So you need to know what your rights are, so that when those things are not dealt with correctly, looking at this situation, they bring her, says she was caught in the very act. What if that wasn't a righteous judge standing there? See, Yahshua is judging righteously. He know that they're hypocrites. He know that they're coming wrong. What if it wasn't Yahshua? What if it was somebody else? Then you have to bring that up. This is that part where you start talking. Excuse me, Yahshua, I don't mean to be, difficult or nothing, but where to do that? Mm-hmm. See, Man was here. I don't see Man. Where is he? Oh, case dismissed. You can't count on somebody else bringing up something to defend you. You need to know how to defend yourself. But we spend more time playing on the phone and looking at mess. So when things go down, we have absolutely no way to even defend ourselves within the word. Because we don't know it. Because we don't spend no time with it. And this is your defense. And you can't expect somebody else to do this. You shouldn't have to get a lawyer. You should be your own. See, a court of law is made for you to have to pay somebody else. It is made difficult for a reason. They use words that ain't have nothing to do with your word. Half the stuff is Latin. They file motions and you're like, that is not English. What is that? Right. They made it so you wouldn't understand it. So you'd have to pay somebody. Yahweh didn't do that to you. You don't understand it because you don't want to understand it. Go ahead.
You know, brother, even in the situation when it was presented to him, like he said, he stooped down, he kept writing on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That also gives space and time for thought. A lot of us are presented with stuff we want. She did what?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, just calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to take a step and think so that you can sit down and say, okay, like he was just saying, where's the man at?
Mm-hmm.
But you quick to want to answer, take the time. You, like you said, play in the sand. Get your thought process together before you answer.
Right. Very good point. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Then spake Yahshua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, You beareth record of yourself. Your record is not true. Yahshua answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, for I know whence I came and whither I go. But you cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. You judge after the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me.
Mm-hmm.
It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that sent me beareth witness of me. Then said they unto him, Where is your father? Yahshua answered, You neither know me nor my Father. If you had known me, you should have known my Father also.
Now understand, now these are priests. These are the people in high position that he's talking to. Go ahead.
These words spake Yahshua in the treasury, as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. Then said Yahshua again unto them, I go my way, and you shall seek me, and shall die in your sins. Whether I go, you cannot come. Then said the Yehudis, Will he kill himself? Because he saith, Whether I go, you cannot come. And he said unto them, You are from beneath, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world.
Mm-hmm.
I said therefore unto you, that you shall die in your sins. For if you believe not that I am he, you shall die in your sins. Then said they unto him, Who are you? And Yahshua saith unto them, Even the same that I said unto you from the beginning. I have many things to say and to judge of you. But he that sent me is true, and I speak to the world those things which I have heard of him. They understood not that he spake to them of the Father. Then said Yahshua unto them, When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall you know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as my Father has taught me, I speak these things.
So there's a lot of things that won't be revealed until the end. Just like Brother Kish was saying, do you pause enough before you react on your emotions? Do you pause enough to see what direction Yahweh is leading you in? Or do you just let those feelings go, say whatever you're going to say, do whatever you're going to do, then find out a month later, oh man, I done got myself into something. Go ahead.
Verse 29, And he that sent me is with me. The Father has not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. As he spake these words, many believed on him. Then said Yahshua to those Yehudis which believed on him, If you continue in my word, then are you my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, We be Abraham's seed, and we're never in bondage, to any man. How saith you shall be made free?
Right. It says the truth shall make you free. The truth will make you free of friends, free of parents, free of all kind of stuff. It might make you free of children too. Everybody don't like the truth. And everybody can't handle the truth. Go ahead.
Yahshua answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever commits sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abides forever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me, because my word has no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my Father, and you do that which you have seen with your father.
You do that which you have seen with your father. Right. They have been raised up watching the Babylonian captors do certain things. They have picked it up. They watched the way the temple is supposed to be one thing, but they do other things behind closed doors. They have watched those things and picked them up. Go ahead.
They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yahshua says unto them, If you be Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth, which I have heard of Elohim. This did not Abraham.
Right. See, this is also what the truth will make you free of life, too. Because it ain't, people keep hearing that truth, and they want to do something to you. Go ahead.
You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, We be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even Elohim. Yahshua said unto them, if Elohim were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from Elohim. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my word.
Right. The children of Yah hear his words. So there's that point where sometimes we're fighting that old spirit that we were released from. Then there's just some that ain't never going to hear because they're not his children. No matter how many things they hear, no matter how many things they take part in, they will never get both feet in the word. Because Babylon got a hold on them. They're going to have one foot in the word and one foot in the world. The whole time. And Yahweh will go ahead and let you walk that 1 foot walk. Until the day he invites everybody to the marriage supper. And you find half of them cast out and half of them go with the bridegroom. That's when you realize who walked with 1 foot in and who walked with both feet in. Go ahead.
You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
Right. And people don't think nothing about telling lies. People lie and say it don't mean nothing. But that's Lucifer stuff. Every lie you tell, you owe him. And he gonna collect. That's like owing the mob. You can run if you want to. But they gonna come to collect. Go ahead.
And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. Which of you convinces me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? He that is of Elohim hears Elohim's words. You therefore hear them not, because you're not of Elohim.
And he's a priest, and he tells them you're not of Elohim. I don't care what your position is. I don't care how many times you walk up in the temple. I don't care what pomp and circumstance you walk with. You are not of Elohim. If you were, these words would make sense to you. Go ahead.
Then answered the Yehudis and said unto him, say we not well that you are a Samaritan and has a devil? Yahshua answered, I have not a devil, but I honor my Father, and you do dishonor me.
So, you have to consider, if they said all these things to Yahshua, think about what they're going to say to you. All the miracles he can do. They still had all these things to say. We can barely change a flat tire. And he done made people get up and walk that wasn't supposed to even get up and walk. And they call him devil. Call him prince of the devils. And we expect not to run into anything? Go ahead.
And I seek not my own glory. There's one that seeketh and judges. Verily, verily, I say unto you, if a man keep my saying, he shall never see death. Then said the Yehudis unto him, now we know that you have a devil. Abraham is dead, and the prophets, and you say, if a man keep my sayings, he shall never taste of death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, which is dead, and the prophets are dead? Whom maketh you yourself? Yahshua answered, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father that honors me, of whom you say that he is your Elohim. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I should say I know him not, I shall be a liar like unto you. But I know him, and keep his saying.
Right. Now, one of the things that people think, well, one of the biggest misconceptions about dealing with Yahshua is everybody believes that he is just, all huggy and lovey, and he say all these nice stuff. Let me tell you something. Yahshua said some of the harshest things out of his mouth. And half of the people that's walking around talking about they love the Lord, when you start reading Yahshua's words, they are out. They gotta go. I don't want to hear no more. That must be that mean God you talking about. You can't be reading your book. But he's not saying those things to break us down. That truth is supposed to get us to a point where we can receive the word inside of our heart. You got to till the ground before you plant seed. You can't just go out there and just throw seed and then just lay up on top of the thing and then you come back, well, I ain't got no fruit. Well, that's what he tried to do. He let some things come your way so he can till that ground. He got to knock that top dirt off. Because that top dirt, that's the hardest dirt. See? That's that little outer shell we got. See, he got to knock that out. That outer shell won't let nothing get in. So he got to tear that outer shell right off the rip. Tear that up. Get some of that stuff that's down up under there and bring that to the top. Now that'll receive seed. Now the question is, how much digging does he have to get to your soft soil? Some of us got soft soil an inch below the outer shell. Some of us, they got to run a bulldozer to get deep down in there. No, that ain't deep enough, boss. Get the big backhoe. Get the big one, roll it off the truck. Because we still ain't got to no soft soil yet. Because this is a hard one right here. This is a tough cookie. So you got to dig so far down. They finding bodies in the ground just to get to your soft soil. See? He got to do that. He ain't start planting yet. He's just trying to get to your soft soil so he can plant something. But we so hard because we've been in Babylon. He can't put nothing in them. He's still digging. Everybody else growing fruit. You still got people with shovels walking in your yard digging. Man, how long they gonna be digging? Until they get to soft soil. You keep digging, all you running into is rocks. You got bricks up under here. You see roots, ain't no trees. What is this? He's not gotten to a place where he can plant yet. Go ahead, bro.
No, I just wanted to say, even the last part in verse 55, we hear people out there saying that, like the laws are done away with and things have been changed. But even at the end, it says Yeshua himself is saying, but I know him and keep his saying. So he's not doing what he anything of himself,
right?
But he's keeping what Yahweh says that we supposed to do. Just kind of showing that he didn't come and change anything.
Right. He said, if I keep his saying, I keep his law. Right. But it is obvious that we have gotten wooed by a lot of fancy talk, and we like that fancy talk, because with the fancy talk we don't have to change anything, and we get to feel good. We get to give a lackluster effort, and we think we're gonna waltz right into the kingdom. And the people that's telling you that, them people don't love you. Those people are setting you up for failure. Man, if you know your son getting ready to fight Mike Tyson and you telling him, oh man, you got this thing, bro. You got this, bro. Man, and he ain't never felt one of them Tyson punches. When he get that first punch, he gonna know his daddy lied to him. But he gonna walk in confident, because everybody be confident, but they be playing the music, they be dancing all the way down to the ring. Yeah, I'm gonna show you, boy. When he feel that first punch, and he ain't been conditioned to get hit, oh, boy, you see when they get that first hit, and they wasn't conditioned to get hit, man, you see that whole face. When the dude bend like a pretzel when he get hit from the side and he bend all the way over, you're like, okay, see, no, he wasn't practicing to get hit. He was doing all the practicing to hit. But fight works both ways. They don't just stand there and let you hit them. They hit back. So you kind of got to practice getting hit. And these people that's telling us that we just going to waltz into the kingdom through nothing of our own selves, Them people setting you up for the worst fight of your life, and they feeding you strawberries and powdered sugar. Everybody else working out. Everybody else getting ready for a fight. You living in luxury. Until they ring that bell. Ding! Then you're going to realize it's real. Because the fight that we're about to fight, Lucifer is a very worthy adversary. And he's extremely skilled. Your skill is trying to learn how to stay near the angel. See, some of y'all just swinging. Y'all don't know what. See, there's no technique. You just swinging. Now, your best technique, move where the angel move. And you got to be able to notice the movements of the spirit. So here come the adversary of the devil, and you trying to fight him with your little fleshly arms. And it end up being when a little boy try to fight his big brother, and the big brother just hold his head and just let him swing. He like, he gonna stop in a minute. And sooner or later, he gonna wear himself out, and then the big brother just throw him down. That's you trying to fight Lucifer. You have zero skills. But the skill you need to hone in on, wherever the angel move, that's where I'm at. He can't hit him. He can't touch him. This is my best defense. What you think the whole movement of the cloud and the fire? The angel move, you move. That's your best defense. You gonna try to pull out your little earthly arms, them little flabby noodles you got, and you trying to swing at him? Mm-mm. No, I got something for the devil real quick. I'm with him. Yeah, tell him what Yahweh said. I'm like the instigator. I ain't messing with Lucifer. Get him. Tell him. Miguel, get him. Yeah. Talk to him that way, Lou. Yeah. I got your back way back here. I'm back here. I ain't standing in between the angel fight. I just need to follow my angel. That's where I need to be. And as long as I do that, I'm going to be all right. Our problem is the angel go left and we see something we like over here. Ooh, look at that. Oh, right. And there lies your tombstone right there. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 56. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. Then said the Yehudis unto him, You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham? Yahshua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Then took they up stones to cast at him. But Yahshua hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by.
Right. All right. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 24. Yeah, you get down to a certain talk, and you'll see that even the most peaceful people, they gonna show you something. Go ahead, bro.
You know, even with Yahshua, the lessons to learn there is, you got to know when to cut people and let them bleed out, and then learn to cut and turn around and mend those and console those for learning purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of them you just got to cut and leave.
Yeah, sometimes you got to know when to get out of Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
It was time to go. He like, hey, it ain't my time to offer up myself yet. Gotta go. Deuteronomy chapter 24, and let's read verses 1 through 4.
When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes because he has found some uncleanness in her.
What is the uncleanness that he would find in his wife? Go ahead.
Then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house.
Mm-hmm.
And when she's departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she's defiled. For that is abomination before Yahweh, and you shall not cause the land to sin. which Yahweh your Elohim gives you for an inheritance.
Now, listen to what it says, and you shall not cause the land to sin. So when you allow the back and forth, you have then not only caused a problem within your own self, you have now caused a problem with the land. Yahweh deals within the land. Now, the whole land has an issue because of this thing. And it's very interesting that today we operate more on the lines of Old Testament marriage than New Testament marriage. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 27 through 32.
Verse 27. You have heard that it was said by them of old time, you shall not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart.
Right. So now you were talking about the magnified law of the Mashiach. Yahweh says, I will magnify the law and make it honorable. So now you have a whole nother level to this law that was not there before. So you have all of these people that are telling you that the law was nailed to the cross, yet they tell you how much they love the Mashiach. And here it is, these are his words, and they won't keep any of them. He says, if you love me, keep my sayings. Go ahead.
And if your right eye offend you, pluck it out, and cast it from you. For it is profitable for you that one of your members should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into hell. And if your right hand offend you, cut it off, and cast it from you. For it is profitable for you that one of your members should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into the grave. It has been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement.
Wait a minute, who said it?
Moshe.
See? So he not just telling you some hearsay. He's telling you what thus says Yahweh, what was given unto Moshe to give to the children of Israel. He's giving you official law code concerning this particular thing. This is not hearsay. Go ahead.
But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, commits adultery.
And we know that this is not how we operate today. We know the way that the church does things. It will be multiple in and out relationships going back and forth, and we have been given that Christian math where 1 + 1 + 1 still equal 1. And my youngest child know that 1 + 1 + 1 don't equal 1. That's very, very simple mathematics. So that's something that we have to consider. Let's go to Matthew chapter 19. And this is one of those things, because the adversary of the devil attacks us in our most intimate parts. It's one of the things that we get the most emails and questions about. We're constantly getting emails and questions about relationship issues. It never stops, because the adversary of the devil knows how to get in between us. A divided house shall not stand. So the adversary needs to cause some kind of division in the house. And then, once that division is caused, he coming in and wreaking havoc. So this is normally our biggest battlefield. Outside the battlefield of our own mind, that is. Matthew chapter 19, and let's read verses 1 through 9.
And it came to pass that when Yahshua had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee, and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause?
All right, now you have to pay attention here. It says in verse 2, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. So he's healing people. The Pharisees still trying to cause a problem with a whole nother issue. See, they got find fault with him, and that's what people do. People will null and void everything good that you have done if they can find one issue. And this is how we justify not getting into the word with both feet.
Well, I didn't like such and such. I didn't like how they did this or how they did that. So I'm not going to walk with both feet. I'm just going to hop along the side of the church.
Right. And he's going to drop you right there in that lake of fire. Go ahead.
And he answered and said unto them, Have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh?
Right. And becoming one flesh is one in the spirit, moving on one accord. When we were little, they would have the field days, and they would have the three-legged race, where they tie one leg to the other person's leg, and y'all had to, figure out a system so that y'all could move together. You know the fastest people in class never won that race? Because they was all depending on their own natural ability. So the same ones who ran the little 40-yard dash, and they were the fastest cats, when they had that three-legged race, they was always on the ground eating gravel. Because they can't wait for the other person. So their timing is always off. They couldn't become one unit. They only knew how to look out for self. They only knew how to be about self. But when you joined in that middle leg, you have to figure out a system. All right. We got to move this middle leg together. We have to figure out our timing. It ain't just you fast and we just take off and move. Those people don't never stand up. They always end up falling. And then you find the ones who learn to work with one another. Those the ones that win. That means somebody had to slow down and move only as fast as the slowest person can move. Because if I move faster than you and we connected on this leg, I'm going to knock us down and we're going to fall over. So let's figure out this system. Let's go. And you can see in the beginning of those races, the people who are talking to one another and they're figuring their timing out. Some of them just jump right out. Boom, boom. They fall the first two steps in the race, eating gravel. And the other ones, they ain't going too fast, but you see them talking to each other. You see them talking to each other. You see them talking. And they wobbling. That's our relationships. We wobble. But then finally, when you get that timing, look at that middle leg. Now they going. Now they in stride. And now they catching up to everybody else who was fast. Because some people are still fast, but they ain't got their technique down. So they were fast, so they jumped out. But they wobbling so much, then they get to the middle because they never worked out a system. Hit the ground in the middle. And the slow ones who don't work out their system just keep on going and keep on going and get to the finish line. It is one of the most interesting things to watch in the little kid field day. Because I remember doing that as a kid. And I remember the people trying to tell me, hey, dumb boy, slow down. Hey, boy, you're running by yourself. You're not even paying attention to the person you're with. But see, just like some of y'all, I had selective hearing loss. So now I'm on the sideline watching y'all. And I watch, hey man, you're moving too fast. You're not moving with your partner. Slow down the middle leg. Right. That comes from when you make the mistakes yourself. You can recognize when other people are doing it. That don't mean they don't listen. They're going to listen. But I still got to say something. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Wherefore they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let no man put asunder. They say unto him, why did Moshe then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? He says unto them, Moshe, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so.
From the beginning, it was not so. It was something that we're supposed to work out within one another. But when you don't have any culture to go by, you don't have anything to work out. You just trying to work out feelings. And if the other person don't have any culture, y'all just dealing with who feel the best. And you ain't never gonna outfeel somebody. It's not gonna happen. Because to them, the way they feel is the most important thing ever in life. Because that is connected to their body, not yours. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery.
Right. So there are many people showing up at church on Sunday morning talking about they married. They are committing adultery. But try and tell them that. See, this is the power of that baptism and getting yourself cleansed. This is the power of that. And you have some that'll come right near it, have the ability to do it, and still won't do it. Let's go to Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7, and let's read verses 1 through 3.
Verse 1. Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law. How that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives.
As long as he lived. A lot of times, you know, people get and stand up in front of a crowd and say, we will be together until death do us part. Forever. Then they called one day and said, forever was over yesterday. I am out. Go ahead.
For the woman which has an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he lives.
Now see, you know they don't read this in the Christian church. They don't read it. First of all, the Christian woman don't want to be bound.
No, I don't like that. Bound sounds like tied. I don't want to be. I don't like to be bound. I don't like to be. That don't sound good at all. I don't like restrictions.
Right. Go ahead.
But if the husband be dead, she's loose from the law of her husband.
Right. Wait a minute. It was what the vows were. To death do us part. Why is this confusing? Why all of a sudden we act like we don't understand this? See, this is why we want to deal with like-minded individuals so that we will not be unequally yoked. But it's difficult to do that when people pretend that they understand. And then when things go down, we find out, wait a minute, you didn't understand as much as you said you understood. But here's the thing, do we wait long enough to see any of those things? Or are we just following the flesh? Go ahead.
So then if, while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress.
Right. So then when you connect that to the woman at the well, when he says you've had 5 husbands, it says, so that while her husband lives, she be married to another, she shall be called an adulteress. Why? Because the other guy's still living. Go ahead.
But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man.
And that's if her husband is dead. And it is amazing how much people call themselves Christians. They call themselves by all these terms, but when you start reading this New Testament, they want absolutely none of it. Let's go to our 1 Corinthians chapter 7. First Corinthians chapter 7, let's read verses 1 through 16.
And Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
Nevertheless, to avoid fornication. When you come up with just completely unrighteous decrees, it makes an issue. When you have all of these so-called Catholic priests who so-called took a vow that they will not be with a woman, when you understand the whole makeup of the priesthood followed the sons. That means these men were married. They produced children. How all of a sudden did they all become so holy that they can't have a woman? Where'd that come from? Because it didn't come out of this book. They've made their own. They have made a whole group of priests. Now they're eunuchs. Priests, you can't have a whole thing of priests that are eunuchs, because where does the next generation of priests come from if they don't have any children? That means the priesthood die in that generation. Right there. But we're going to be so holy, we're going to die. What? I don't want to be that holy. I don't want to that. I need less holy if I got to die for it. Go ahead.
I'm over here laughing because I guess that was their way of trying to be holier than the people who actually were supposed to be in these positions, right?
Of course. Of course. Meanwhile, doing all the foulest things you could ever imagine. But have the appearance of holiness. Ruining lives. When you look at some of those, this last situation of them pushing against this Catholic priest, and you see this grown man talking about what happened to him. First of all, it's hard to get a man to open up and say what happened to them. This man was vigorously talking about what happened to him, and it was deep. And these are Catholic priests who basically have diplomatic immunity, because you don't see them go to jail. And they're not doing this just in this country. They're all over the world doing the same thing, everywhere they go. But the Vatican has been made a country. So they got diplomatic immunity. If you're going to deal with them, you got to go and deal with their government. Knowing that every government should have been stopping them see, that's who they need to build a wall for. That's who need to be at the wall. You trying to watch, Julio and Rodriguez, and who you need to watch is the pontiff. You know what I'm saying? That's who need to be. And then there should have been a lot of priests. They're like, let me see your papers. Let me see your papers. They need to stop them at the border. You talking about all the stuff that happened to people? They ain't doing it. And ain't none of them going to jail. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Right. And I don't know if I have to explain what benevolence means. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, so she's due a certain amount of attention. And the husband is due a certain amount of attention. As far as I'm going to go with that. Read.
The wife has not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife. Defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again.
Come together again. Why?
That Satan tempt you not for your incontinency.
So while you defrauding one another, one way or another, Lucifer is in the ear of the other one. For brother defrauding his wife, Lucifer is in the ear of the wife. You see how fine that brother is over there? Look at those abs. You see that? That brother chest about to jump out his shirt. Do you see that? Right. And if there's defrauding on the other end, Lucifer in the other ear. Right. Go ahead.
But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. For I would that all men were even as I myself. But every man has his proper gift of Elohim, one after this manner and another after that. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the adulteress. Let not the wife depart from her husband. But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband.
And you know that's the ways of old. People don't do that no more. I'm separated. I'm gonna stay separated until we work this out. Correct?
I'm telling you, I've got to find that. I keep telling you about that marriage certificate. It's in the decree of the marriage certificate that if she separates, you got to stay by yourself and can't be remarried. But if you want to be married, go back to your husband. That was in the marriage certificates of this country.
And we understand where it come from. They were supposed to be Christian people, right? Okay. Go ahead.
And let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest speak I, not the adulteress. If any brother has a wife that believes not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which has an husband that believes not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy.
So then we have the opportunity to sanctify one another, but that means that we cannot agree and sin with one another. Somebody has to step out of line to save the house. Go ahead.
But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Elohim has called us to peace. For what knoweth you, O wife, whether you shall save your husband? Or how knoweth you, O man, whether you shall save your wife?
All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 19. Deuteronomy 19, and let's read verses 15 through 21.
Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any lawlessness or for any sin, in any sin that he sins. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established.
Right. So then you have, this is part of the understanding that the Pharisees would use to come at Yahshua to saying, well, hey, you don't have anybody else to justify the stuff that you're saying. See, where's your second witness for this stuff that you're saying? Go ahead.
If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before Yahweh, before the priests and the judges which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition. And, behold, if the witness be a false witness, and has testified falsely against his brother, then shall you do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shall you put the evil away from among you. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. And your eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot.
And this is why we have situations where there's so much lying, because the righteous part of that is not dealt with. The punishment for the lie is whatever it is you intended to happen to the other individual. So when we consider if indeed a false statement was made by this actor, if you accuse these people of a hate crime and one wasn't committed, you know the punishment for a hate crime? See, now you put yourself in a pretty serious situation, but we know Babylon ain't gonna deal with it righteously. But just so that we understand what that would be for us and what it's supposed to be, if we end up getting persuaded by watching these things and then we attempt it. And that's what normally gets us into trouble. Watching the people of Babylon and then attempting the things that we see in Babylon. Not understanding, Yahweh not going to deal with you like he did with them. You have a different level of understanding. He's going to deal with you according to your understanding. See, some of us we get a little leeway for a little while. Because Yahweh give you an opportunity once you learn. He don't put everything on you right away. But after you done walked in it for a little while, then he starts increasing how he going to deal with you. And you got to act like you know. You can't keep walking in a lie once you know the truth. I couldn't even imagine sticking a pork chop in my mouth. I used to live off that stuff. I used to eat pork chops in the morning. I had breakfast pork chop sandwich. Now the smell of it make me sick. Folks be cooking sausage and it's like some kind of gas in the air. And then they be offering you some. Would you like a piece of death? No. I can't do it. After you know the truth, how do you turn around and walk back in a lie? Let's go to, did we finish that? Let's go to Revelation chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21. And let's read verses 1 through 8.
Verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yohanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. And Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. And he that overcomes shall inherit all things. And I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars.
How many liars?
All liars.
So it says some that tell the white lie. Is it white lies they can get past, right? They're just the black lies.
All liars.
Okay, all liars. Okay.
Shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Let's go to Isaiah chapter 29. So when we read, because you got some people will read something in the Old Testament and they say, well, you know, that's that old law. And then you have to come and read it in the New Testament and see that Yahshua and his Father is on one accord. There's not a difference of opinion between those two. Yahshua is not saying something different than what his Father has said. What has happened is he has taken it on another spiritual level, but he's not saying anything different. Isaiah chapter 29, and let's start that at verse 1.
Woe to Ariel, the city where David dwelt. Add you year to year, let them kill sacrifices.
So then we have to first understand how Yahweh operates. You have then nicknames for cities that already have names. This is something that we commonly do for one another, and it's something that Yahweh does as well. That's where we get it from. Go ahead.
Yet I will distress Ariel, and there shall be heaviness and sorrow, and it shall be unto me as Ariel. And I'll camp against you round about, and will lay siege against you with a mount, and I will raise forts against you. And you shall be brought down, and shall speak out of the ground, and your speech shall be low out of the dust, and your voice shall be as of one that has a familiar spirit out of the ground, and your speech shall whisper out of the dust. Moreover, the multitude of your strangers shall be like small dust, and the multitude of the terrible ones shall be as chaff that passes away. Yea, it shall be at an instant suddenly. You shall be visited of Yahweh of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And the multitude of all the nations that fight against Ariel, even all that fight against her and her munition, and that distress her, shall be as a dream of a night vision.
Now, the interesting thing about this is Yahweh has paused enough to allow the nations to deceive themselves. So as they are fighting against Ariel, they think they're fighting against somebody else. See, they're going to come against the true Jerusalem while thinking that they are protecting the very Jerusalem that they're fighting against. So this is how Yahweh end up catching people in their own so-called twisted wisdom. So the nations will join together to try and deal with us, trying to protect the false Israel. This is how he tricks everybody all over the world, that they actually think they're fighting the right fight. This is how you get people to join into a fight, even though you done told them everybody that get in this fight gonna get destroyed, and they still running up because they think they on the right side. Go ahead.
Verse 8. It shall even be as when an hungry man dreams, and, behold, he eats, but he awakes, and his soul is empty. Or as when a thirsty man dreams, and behold, he drinks, but he awakes, and, behold, he is faint, and his soul has appetite. So shall the multitude of all the nations be that fight against Mount Zion. Stay yourselves and wonder. Cry you out, and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For Yahweh has poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and has closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, has he covered. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray you. And he says, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, Read this, I pray you. And he says, I am not learned. Wherefore the Adonai said, For as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men, therefore, behold, I'll proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid.
So Yahweh is going to restore the children of Israel, but he's going to have to turn some things upside down. The people that we think are wise are going to be the ones that he show and prove that they are foolish. And the ones that we don't want to listen to, Yahweh is going to end up showing the earth, here go your wise men right here. Go ahead.
Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, Who sees us? And who knows us?
Right, and what helps us do that is when Yahweh pauses. This is the part that makes us believe that we have somehow gotten over on Yahweh, that Yahweh didn't see what we have committed. He don't see that we present one public face and then we got a private one, but because he doesn't react right away, we think we got away with it. See? That's what helps people believe that they've gotten away with it. Because he's not going to run out of time. So it ain't nothing for Yahweh to just pause for a minute. Let's see how far they're going to take this. Go ahead.
Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he has no understanding? Is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest? And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness.
Right, but it's hard to explain to the spiritually blind that they are blind, because they think they see rather well. They say we're extremely educated, and they are in natural things. Go ahead.
The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for lawlessness are cut off, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught.
And we're going to have to get into that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproves in the gate. He that reproves in the gate is telling the people what they are doing incorrectly. And those are the people we hate the most. Those are the ones that we show the most indignation to. See, we don't mess with them people, the motivational speakers. See, we see them motivational speakers that don't do them but smile for 2 hours. Oh, we love them. We want to take a picture with them.
Can I get your autograph?
Right, but he that reproves in the gate, oh no, we got a problem with him. That's the one that's actually trying to get you right before Yahshua show up. But that's the ones that we show indignation with. Interesting how that works. Go ahead.
Therefore thus said Yahweh, who redeemed Abraham, concerning the house of Jacob, Jacob shall not now be ashamed, neither shall his face now wax pale. But when he seeth his children, the work of mine hands, in the midst of him, they shall sanctify my name, and sanctify the Holy One of Jacob, and shall fear the Elohim of Israel. They also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine.
They that murmur shall learn doctrine. And we're going to have to get into this offender for a word. Let's go to Acts chapter 13. Acts chapter 13, and we're going to read verses 1 through 3.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene.
Now, people going to tell you, now, and I just ended up in a 35, 40-minute discussion at the barbershop about this right here. Because, you know, this word is offensive to some people. And it all depends on how those people, you know, grew up. You know, when I got in trouble in school, I had to go live with my grandmama down in the country. And I hadn't been down there in a while. And it, you know, it stunned my whole family. You know, I went back to go see my grandmama, and I got out of the car. And this old lady, and she seen me, she looked, I ain't tell her I was coming. She looked, she said, "That's on my nigga." My whole family was like, "Oh my God, the old lady say that." I see, there's some people that would have just hit the floor. Oh no, she didn't. Oh. They need a fan and some cold water. You know, I grew up like that. So you have a lot of people that this is really offensive to them, and this caused a really deep conversation in the barbershop. So I want to make sure that we go into this. We have to then first understand why he was called this. Go ahead and finish reading this.
And Menahem, which had been brought up with Herod the tetrarch and Saul. As they ministered to the Adonai and fasted, the Holy Spirit said, Separate me, Barnabas and Saul, for the work whereunto I have called them. And when they had fasted and prayed and laid their hands on them, they sent them away.
Okay, I need for you to back up to verse 1, and I need for you to notice certain things. Now, start back at verse 1.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch.
Stop. First thing, notice where they are. They are in Antioch. Antioch is in Syria. Okay? So, they are in a place that is not their place. All right, keep reading.
Certain prophets and teachers.
They're prophets and teachers. So, these are Israelites. Go ahead.
As Barnabas and Simeon that was called nigger.
So, Simeon that was called nigger, not by his people, by the people in Antioch, which is in Syria. Now, read the definition for this word that everybody say is Niger. What's funny is I went home after this discussion, turned on CNN, and there was a guy talking, and his name was Niger Ennis. I said, poor fella don't know his mama named him nigga. Come here, little nigga. I was like, wow, now that is thoroughly interesting. Now how, after I have this 45-minute conversation, I turn on CNN, and I'm looking at this dude's name like, no. See, this is how Yahweh tell you what it is you're supposed to deal with. Because I just had a 45-minute conversation, and then I turn on the TV, and this is what's sitting there. And I ain't never seen this man before in my life. Why did I see him last night? Okay, go ahead and read this.
Nigger from G3526.
All right.
Greek.
So they're showing you this Greek thing. Now read.
Of Latin origin.
Of Latin origin. Now, this causes a lot of problem with people because there's one thing about dealing with a definition. There's something else to deal with etymology of a word and understand where it comes from. Because English is a bastardized language, meaning that they take words from anywhere that they like. I mean, but they were conquering people. They went all over the earth, conquering things. So this is why at certain points it becomes confusing to children that we tell them that the F makes a F sound, and then the P makes a P sound, but then the PH sounds like F. Wait a minute, well, why they don't say P? You know what I'm saying? They don't make, it confuses children. So I don't understand. You telling me the P says P, H says H, but PH says F. That don't make no sense. So then the kids are looking at you, Dad. I don't think, let mama teach me, because I don't think you're right. You know what I'm saying? So then the kids second guessing you. I'm pretty sure that's Daddy. I'm pretty sure. Just call mama in here. You know what I'm saying? I can't let you teach me, because you don't sound like you know what you're talking about. Okay, so just in dealing with that, keep reading.
It says of Latin origin, black. Nigger, a Christian.
A Christian. So, first of all, this is what the Christian people called him. Right. Keep reading.
Nigger or nigger.
Right. So this down at the bottom shows you how to pronounce it. So when people tell you it's Niger, show me in this pronunciation where you see an I with a line over it. Nigger. That's what it says. But we're going to say, no, that ain't what it means. It's a Latin word that means black. Go ahead, bro.
So when it says they were first called Christians in Antioch, they were called nigger.
They was called nigger in Antioch by Christians. Okay? So, but and I understand something. These people, first of all, were not Christians, but they were called Christians. Okay? Now, we'll accept one word, but we got a problem with the other. You should be just as offended when somebody, if nigger offends you, Christian should too. When they be like, you a Christian? You call me what? What you call me? Oh, brother, we about to get it on. See? about the nigger word, but we okay with the Christian word. Same people told it. Run, go tell that. Go ahead.
And I mean, he put it to you that it was offensive because he said suffer to be called one.
Right. All right. Now, read. I had something else in here that I wanted y'all to see. Read the definition of Sudan. Because first of all, what I bothered people is when I said it was a Latin word. I don't care what word it is. If it's Latin and English or whatever it is. Read this.
Sudan. 1842 from Arabic, Bilad al-Sudan. Literally, country of the blacks.
Right. So when we say Sudan, you got to understand that it is an Arabic word for blacks. And to this day, we have allowed other people's definition of us to go all around, and we don't even go back to figure out, wait a minute, this ain't what we called ourselves. This is what other people called us. Go ahead.
Originally the stretch of Africa between the Sahara and the equator. From Sud, plural of Aswad, feminine Sauda, black, in early use also Sudan from French, related Sudanese.
All right. Now, let's go to Luke chapter 23. So I'm going to show you what's the significance, when people fight against when you say it is a Latin word, but I don't want to hear nothing about no Latin, brother. Luke 23 and verse 32 through 38. But I really enjoyed the conversation, and there was some, really intelligent brothers. Intelligent conversation causes you to rise to another level. And what I really enjoyed about it is, it was an aggressive conversation between a bunch of men, and my son was there watching the whole thing. See, my son is homeschooled and be at home with a bunch of women. I needed him to see men in their rare form. The brother was like apologizing, saying to my son, no. And Nemo was like, oh no, I'm fine. No, I need to see that. And when I see that brother again, I'm going to tell, hey, bro, thank you. No, I need him to see aggressive man talk. No, this manly business. I need him to see this here. See? He need to see some brothers in rare form. So I really appreciate it. I went there for a haircut, but I'm coming back for the experience. Luke chapter 23, start at verse 32.
And there were also 2 other malefactors led with him to be put to death. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Yeshua, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. And the people stood beholding, and the rulers also with them derided him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he be the Messiah, the chosen one of Elohim. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If you be the king of the Yehudis, save yourself. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew.
I'm sorry. So this superscription that was written in Greek, Latin, and Hebrew, not English, Latin. So when you tell people that nigger is a Latin word for black and they got a problem, okay, what do you think the sign that was over his head was written in? Right. But see, they have a problem connecting this and Latin, and it tells you right in the book. The whole term was written in Latin. Why would they write that in Latin if wasn't nobody around there using Latin words? They wrote it in the languages that the people in that area normally spoke, so that everybody could understand. If you speak Greek, I got you. If you speak Latin, I got you. And if you speak Hebrew, we got you. So everybody know, no matter what language you speak around here, you know who that is we just crucified. That was the purpose. Wasn't no purpose in putting the language that they didn't speak. And they put it in all three because that was the languages that were being spoken in that area. See, they knew exactly what they were doing. Go ahead, bro.
Just like they putting everything in this country in English and Spanish.
And that's right. They put everything in this country in English and Spanish, and you'll look at something. Sometimes you run into the Spanish first. I'll look at some instruction. I'll be like, hey, hold on. I got to flip it over the other way. Okay, English upside down. Hey, man, they're going to put the Spanish first? Hey? So when you get ready to deal with etymology, which is the how a word came to be, and it throws people when you say that it is a Latin word, just go back to the superscription that was written over the Messiah and have them explain why it was written in Latin over his head. Let's go to Acts chapter 11. Acts 11, and let's start that at verse 19.
Verse 19. Now they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose from Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto the Yehudis only. And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which, when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, preaching the Adonai Yahshua. And the hand of the Adonai was with them, and a great number believed and turned unto the Adonai. Then tidings of these things came unto the ears of the church which was in Jerusalem, and they sent forth Barnabas that he should go as far as Antioch. Who when he came and had seen the grace of Elohim was glad, and exhorted them all, that with purpose of heart they would cleave unto the Adonai. For he was a good man, and full of the Holy Spirit and of faith, and much people was added unto the Adonai. Then departed Barnabas to Tarsus, for to seek Saul. And when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church, and taught much people, and the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
Right. This is not what they called themselves. This is what other people called them. Go ahead.
And in these days came prophets from Jerusalem unto Antioch. And there stood up one of them named Agabus, and signified by the Spirit that there should be great dearth throughout all the world, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar. Then the disciples, every man according to his ability, determined to send relief unto the brethren which dwelt in Judea, which also they did, and sent it to the elders by the hands of Barnabas and Saul.
So then we understand where this term Christian comes from. See, we have a problem with certain words, but then others we will turn around and allow those things to be said to us as if there's no problem. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. And I get it, you know, that some people find certain things offensive. It is like what it says in the book: if meat offends your brother, don't eat meat. But that don't mean I ain't never gonna eat it. That means I ain't gonna eat it in front of you. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're gonna read verses 16 through 23.
I say again, let no man think me a fool, if otherwise, yet as a fool receive me, that I may boast myself a little. That which I speak it not after the Adonai, but as it were foolishly, in this confidence of boasting. Seeing that many glory after the flesh, I will glory also. For you suffer fools gladly, seeing you yourselves are wise. For you suffer, if a man bring you into bondage, if a man devour you, if a man take of you, if a man exalt himself, if a man smite you on the face. I speak as concerning reproach, as though we had been weak. Howbeit, wheresoever any is bold, I speak foolishly, I am bold also. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? so am I.
So the Apostle Saul says that he was a Hebrew Israelite. They called them Christians. And now, to this day, we got a whole lot of people walking around talking about they're Christians, and this is not what any of them call themselves. So we'll accept one word, why pounce on another? Go ahead.
Are they ministers of the Mashiach? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths oft.
All right, I want you to read this part here on Deuteronomy 28 and verse 37.
And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, where the Yahweh shall lead you.
Now, and when you deal with that, you have to then look at this whole thing of all of these different terms. And in case, you hadn't understood that one next to the last, that's the Jewish term for us, the Schwarzer. That was Yahweh said, you shall become a proverb and a byword in all the places whereof I send you. Let's go to Genesis chapter 9. Go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say, every language has their derogative terms that they call us. You just got to learn it.
Right. You got it. But see, that's part of the punishment that was given unto the children of Israel. That's part of the things that we're going to end up dealing with. Even you got, people accepting the term African American. It makes absolutely no sense because it doesn't really tell you any culture whatsoever. Africa is a continent with over 50 countries in it. Africans don't say they're African. They tell you the specific place where they're from. Nobody walk around talking about I'm African. They say, no, I'm Nigerian. Them dudes y'all just seen, them big buff dudes on TV, been without their shirt for the last week. Did they say they was African? No. They said they were Nigerian. Don't nobody walk around talking about they from a continent. You don't run into nobody and they say, I'm from the planet Earth. Well, congratulations. Where exactly on Earth are you from? Genesis chapter 9, and let's read verses 8 through 17.
And Elohim spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth.
Right.
And Elohim said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generation.
This is the token of the covenant. Go ahead.
I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And Elohim said unto Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth.
All right, we're going to read one more thing. Let's go to Revelation chapter 4. So then we see at this point, Yahweh has shown us that the bow in the cloud is our the sign of the covenant, that he shall not destroy the earth with water. So now when we look in the throne, we're going to see the same thing. So we go from the beginning of the book and we read one thing. We're going to go to the end of the book and read the exact same thing. Read Revelation chapter 4, and let's read verses 1 through 3.
After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven.
Behold, a door was opened in heaven. Go ahead.
And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I'll show you things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne.
So there's one sitting on the throne, there's a throne. Go ahead.
And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. Which is the symbol of the covenant, the very thing that we saw in the beginning. Now, one of the things that I end up discussing in the barbershop, the people say, well, things are about if it's offensive now, you have to deal with it by how offensive it is right now. So my question was, well, wait a minute. Right now, the rainbow is the gay flag. So if I gave you a rainbow, would you be offended and think that I just gave you the symbol of gay pride? So now should I not accept the symbol of Yahweh's covenant because the LGBTQRSTP has accepted that as their symbol? So now I should change the token of my Elohim? So how many people, it says it was opened up in heaven and they saw a man sitting there in a rainbow. How many people gonna be sitting down talking about it's raining men? Because they think that's a gay dude coming out. Because it's a man and he got a rainbow. Oh, that's a gay guy. And they run up to Yahshua and he kill every last one of them. Then they gonna be thinking somebody did something wrong to him. No, you just ran up on the sign of the covenant that you thought was a gay flag. So should I change that because people have made the symbol of the covenant a gay flag? Should I change that? Go ahead, bro. You know, we always talk about how Lucifer gives you the direct opposite. Yahweh's covenant with the rainbow was a covenant that life would always be here. The covenant that they've taken now is a death covenant. They can't produce life if you're living that lifestyle.
Not at all.
It's the direct opposite of what Yahweh has given us.
Yeah, but you can adopt. But I just seen they just had a baby shower for a gay man the other day. And I said, are you serious right now? Is there a baby shower for? When they announced it, I was like, how he having a baby shower? And are we supposed to alter what it is we know and understand because somebody else has turned that into something else? And it's not going to happen. And if we allow those people to keep doing that, what's going to happen, it is going to be more known by what they deal with than what we deal with. Because we're openly avoiding it because of them. And let it have been something that was ours financially, we wouldn't avoid it. Say, oh man, if you go over there and pick up your money, they're going to think you part of that group. Hey man, is my money over there? I'm on my way. We don't let nobody stop us when it's our money. Yeah, but they're going to think you part of that group, or they can think all they want. I'm on my way to get my money. I'm just calling y'all, let y'all know I'm on the way to go get that. Right. We're not going to stop. But now we're supposed to stop this. Then that means it don't mean to us what we say it mean to us. If we'll let somebody talk us out of it based on somebody else's perception of what they think it means. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.